hit your like button, like, comment, and subscribe. This message is for people who want to go in court. You're not ready to go in court. You're not ready to go in court yet. I'm always on the internet, and I get some consultations, and people have certain issues that they're dealing with. Perhaps you're dealing with a criminal case or even just a traffic ticket, and you're thinking about using this process to go into court to defend yourself or try to get a remedy, as some of you like to say, or just really what you're trying to do is just get some sort of resolution to it where you don't have to pay out of pocket and you maintain your freedom. Now, these processes have been around for a very, very long time of going into court, saying you don't have jurisdiction over me. None of that stuff is new. It's been around for probably over 30 years. You need to understand that first and foremost as well. You just haven't heard of it before, but it's been around a long time. And the courts have been dealing with it for about that amount of time as well. You just don't know about it. You may just be coming into the information and finding out about it, but trust me, it's been around for a long time. Now, I'm just going to give you my experience and my opinion about going into court. This is an opinion. This is my opinion about going into court. And then it does kind of guide me when I'm consulting people, and people tell me what their circumstances are, and then I give them some sort of suggestion on a course of action that they should take. First, the first thing I'm going to look at is how long have you been studying this information? How long have you been aware of this information? If you've just found out about this information and you want to go in court and utilize it, I can almost promise you, or almost be 100% sure you're going to have a very low success rate. All right, not to say that sometimes people don't get lucky and things work for them, because that, every situation is different. But for the most part, most of the time, you're not going to be very successful because, to learn this information takes a little bit of time. There are a lot of words you have to learn. There are a lot of principles you have to learn, things of that nature. You're not just going to come in through the door and start doing, going into court and getting resolution and just winning. That's not going to happen. That's delusional for you to think that way. The next thing I have to look at is how well is your ability to talk in court. A lot of people don't have a good grasp of the English language, and you can't go into the courtroom using ebonics and colloquialisms from the street and things like that and think you're going to get some sort of resolution. Okay, first of all, they're speaking legalese in the court, so you got to know the language that they're speaking. That's number one. And number two, it's like this is a gentleman's game. You're going in there, you're trying to defend yourself. You need to be able to speak in a certain kind of way. You can't just be just got this hood talk and everything. That's not going to work for you. All right. I appreciate the 2 bones, Sir Ray, and also Chief Baspo, the 10 bones, man. I appreciate both of you gentlemen. All right. Now, the next thing is your ability to think on your feet. Your ability to think on your feet. This is a very, very big one when you're going into the courtroom, because a lot of people, they like to come into the courtroom and perhaps read something from a piece of paper, some pre-prepared statement that somebody has given them, and say, go into the court and read this, and you're going to get some sort of remedy for yourself. Once again, you're going to have a very low success rate with that. You need to have the ability to think on your feet when you're in court, because you may come into contact with certain judges that's going to test your level of knowledge. They'll put your paperwork to the side. You'll hand them a paperwork. They'll hand you some paperwork, and they'll get it, and they'll just put it to the side and start talking to you and asking you questions. Because they want to see, okay, you claiming you are this sovereign. You're claiming that you're not a dependent, because this is basically what you're saying to them. You're saying to them, I'm not a dependent of the U.S. government. I'm not a U.S. citizen, okay? I don't use any benefits or privileges. Primarily, I don't use the Social Security number. I'm not in any need of any benefits and privileges from you. And on top of that, I'm more than competent enough to handle my own commercial affairs, all right? Because the whole basis of everything that's happened in this country is a result of the New Deal under the Great Depression, when the American people went to the government for help, saying we can't take care of ourselves, we need you to take care of us. And the government made a deal. And that's when you had all these socialist programs that came into fruition, primarily the Social Security program, which I'm working on doing a video on right now, because we need to get some deeper understanding on exactly what Social Security is, because it's not an insurance program. It is a benefit and a privilege. Congress can take it away from you at any time. It doesn't matter how much money you paid into it. That's a class 5 gift and estate tax. I mean, you start studying this and you see what's going on. You see how truly delusional the American people are, and how the lack of understanding they have as to the function of their government, and just civics in general. That's a big problem in this country. But you got to be able to think on your feet. Okay, you have to. This takes practice, and it takes repetition. You got to say, you got to think in your mind. Okay, if he say this, I'm gonna say this. If he say this, I'm gonna say this. You have to work over a variety of different scenarios. Like when you ask the judge a question, you need to anticipate certain answers that he's gonna give you. Like I'm not here to give you legal advice. Well, sir, I'm not seeking legal advice. What I'm trying to determine is your legal intent. Now, the Constitution for the United States of America grants me the right to know the nation and cause of this action, and it makes it incumbent upon you, and it gives you the duty to provide me with that information. Now, sir, would you please give me the information on the record, because it is my understanding I have a constitutional protected right to know the information. Is that or is that not correct? You have to have some sort of response for things that he says. We're not here to talk about that today. Well, if we're not here to talk about it today, then I move to court for a recess until we can get it to a point where we can discuss it, because this is very important. What we need to talk about, it goes into the procedural aspects of everything we're doing. So so I need to abate these proceedings until we get to the bottom of this nature and cause of action, because I'm going to properly defend myself, Your Honor, if I don't have this information. You got to be able to think on your feet when they say something. You got to anticipate. That's one of the number one things. And if you're not willing to rehearse your lines, everybody rehearses their lines. They have lines. They are administrators. That means that everything they say in court is probably rehearsed, because they got to make sure that they don't go outside the ambit of their delegated authority, because they're operating in a legislative democracy, which means they have a ministerial duty to perform, which means they're not a real judge. They're an employee of the legislature, and they're doing the whims of the legislature, and the legislature will check them if they don't do what they want them to do. So we're in this venue, okay, and they prepared everything that they're going to say. You need to prepare everything you're going to say. You need to anticipate everything, every possible thing that they could possibly say. You need to be prepared for it, and you need to already have rehearsed a line to respond to it. There's so many things. Like if somebody walks into the courtroom and starts talking, I'm sorry, sir, do you have a claim against me? I ask them a question. What is your interest in this matter? Do you have a claim against me? Why are you speaking on the record then? Who are you? Could you please state your name for the record, sir? All these little things matter. All these little things matter. The judge says, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and schedule this for trial. I'm sorry, Your Honor, but I thought I made it abundantly clear to yourself and this court that I'm not disputing any facts in this matter. So I would like you to tell me on the record how you taking me to a bench trial or a jury trial when I made it abundantly clear I'm not challenging any of the facts in this matter. I've agreed to the facts. I've stipulated to the facts. Now we need to get to the law. But in order to get to the law, I need to know what kind of law is being applied. In order for me to understand that, I need to know what jurisdiction we're operating under. And you failed to reveal that information to me under the authority of the Sixth Amendment for the Constitution of the United States of America. And now you're seeking to take me to trial under a secret jurisdiction that is only known to you and the prosecutor. How's that fair, Your Honor? Well, you need to be quiet. You say another word, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna hit you with contempt. Is that gonna be civil or criminal contempt? Additionally, am I to understand that you have made some sort of judicial determination that I'm not to be afforded my due process rights and freedom of speech in these proceedings? For the record, a lot of times when they talk to you crazy, they're trying to put you back into the position of a serf, because they know that they are public servants. They know that in a republic, they serve you. But in a democracy, they've usurped that authority and you serve them. And they're trying to keep you in that status. And I like this right here. People know the information, however, may not be able to recall or properly make a rebuttal without practice. Hence, when does class start? Okay, and that's absolutely correct. When I first started, I was saying, Like I remember the first time I went into the courtroom, I sounded just like this. I'm the holder in due course. Here's a third-party intervener making a special appearance as an authorized representative for the defendant. I accept for value and return for value all the charging instruments in this matter and make my exemption as principal available for all charges connected with this guy. I say just like that. I'm just saying because I'm going by memory. I've memorized it. I don't really know what I'm saying. I don't really know what a holder in due course is, but I've memorized what to say. And it was effective, but it wasn't effective enough to get me out, but it was effective enough to piss them off. It was effective enough to make them go rubber stamp an indictment. They will rubber stamp an indictment, all right, to get you and then start moving me around in the jail, put me in the worst part of the jail, talking about you insulted the judge. I'm like, what did I do to the judge? I didn't do anything to the judge. I'm just in there defending myself. Every time I turn to the courtroom now, I got officers with me, I got, I'm getting escorted into the courtroom and I'm in custody, So, things can happen very quickly when, because at first, you might be like, I don't really know if this is real or not. I don't know if this is real or not. I remember when I was first studying it, I gave myself a safety net. I said, I'm gonna try to use this information, but if they force me into a trial, I'm gonna study for that too. I'm gonna study for a trial. I'm gonna study for, if this is some bullshit, I find out this information is some bullshit that he's telling me, I need to be prepared to defend myself the regular way. If we were in court and I had to present evidence and I had to call witnesses, I need to be able to do that. So what I started doing is I started helping people with their case. That started familiarizing me with the law. Somebody come up to me say, oh, gee, I just got, a possession with the intent to distribute. I feel like it was illegal search and seizure. So now I'm in the law library. I'm studying, the fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. I'm learning what a Terry frisk is. That they can pat you down for weapons, but they can't go into your pockets. I'm learning all this stuff, by helping other people with their cases. And that's helping me also understand how I present evidence, how I'm going to talk in court. I have me a forms and pleadings book, so I know how to make a motion the correct way. A lot of you complain about the clerks. The clerks ain't doing nothing wrong. Clerks, you handing the clerk some bullshit. They looking at the form of the document, not its contents. You don't know how to put the document together properly. And they can't tell you what's wrong with it. They can't legally tell you. They just refuse because that's giving legal advice. You got to figure it out. And how you know that is you get a good example to go off of, something to practice off of. If you want to file a writ of mandamus, go get a template for a writ of mandamus. That's going to make sure, okay, we got the jurisdictional element in here. Here's what exhibits need to be required to have. Do an affidavit need to be supporting it? What is the issue? What relief are you praying for? All this is ordered in there when you get that. That's what they use. You can modify it if you want to fit a sovereign type of pleading. It's a template. But when you look at it, you're going to see, okay, I see how I put this together now. But you're going into court raw. You're going into wolf territory. It's like you going out into the woods. It's like a person think they can really wrestle a bear. Let me tell you something. Do you think you can wrestle a bear? You think you can wrestle one of them big brown Kodiak bears, grizzlies? Man, let me tell you something. I'll be watching, but it's a couple of animals that I study. I study these animals because I consider myself a apex predator. Not a predator where I'm preying on people, but a predator in the sense that I'm the dominant. I'm not no victim. I look in the wild and I look at who the victims are and who the aggressors are. The predators. And I just like to study how the wolves operate. I like to study how the lions operate. I like to look at the hyenas, the wild dogs, the Komodo dragons. I'm studying all these animals, right? And you get to a Kodiak bear. And I'm saying, Ain't nobody wrestling one of those things, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know if a lion could take out a bear, you know, definitely not a polar bear. Definitely not a polar bear. All right. But this is how people are thinking. You thinking you're going to go into that courtroom. That's akin to you going out into the woods wrestling a bear. Somebody done talked you into the shit. Now, you good if you go in there and you got a shotgun, some rifles, maybe say AR-15s, and some shit. Okay, I'm ready to take on the bear. You know, I'm going to go in here and take on the bear. So you got to make sure you strapped. You know what I'm saying? You got to be strapped when you go in there. And that's what your practice is going to do. It's going to keep you strapped at all times. You know, when somebody start firing on you, you start busting on their ass, you know, and you have rehearsed your lines so well that now they sound natural coming off the top of your head. Because now the information is a part of you. It's no different than when you're rapping. You know, it's no different than when you're rapping. Today's agenda, got the suitcase up in the Centra. Go to room 112, tell them Blanco sent you. Feel the strangest, if no money exchanges. Got these kids in ranges to leave these niggas brainless. All they told is stainless. You just remain as calm as possible. Let the deal go through. If not, here's 12 shots. You know how we do. Please make, and because you got to memorize, now you can ad-lib. Now you can make motions with your hand. Now you can get on there and grab the mic and add swag to it and things like that because you got it memorized. It's embedded in the subconscious mind. That's mastery. Mastery goes through 4 stages. Mastery goes through 4 stages. The first stage is unconscious incompetence. Your unconscious mind hasn't even been programmed. You're incompetent. There's nothing properly been programmed into you. You're like a computer that doesn't have an operating system. It's unconsciously incompetent. All right, so next we got unconscious competence. Is it conscious incompetence? I'm sorry, next level is conscious incompetence, where the conscious mind now has possession of the information, but it has not even been attempted to be instilled into the subconscious mind. It is not a part of you. It's not a part of you. The information, you just heard of the information. You just read a page or something. You're aware of it. You know it exists. All right, but it hasn't effectively affected you in any kind of way. And then you have conscious competence, okay? Conscious competence is we're aware of the information and now you are rehearsing it. Now you're repeating it every day. You got it memorized. All right, you're repeating it. But the essence of it still hasn't filled you in yet. Then we have unconscious competence. That's where now you know the information so well, you don't even have to think about it. The conscious mind don't even have to think about it. It's like when a person is playing a piano and he's playing a piano, hey man, you know, today, and you see people, don't that always amaze you? When you see people playing a piano and they can sing too at the same time, or they can play the guitar and sing at the same time, that's because they practice that guitar so much, it's all in the subconscious. The conscious mind is released from the duty of having to think about it. Now you're not even thinking about it anymore. It's just a reaction, automatic, like a heartbeat. The subconscious mind is in control of the heartbeat. So when you're ready to go to court, that's the level you need to be at before you go into the courtroom, where your conscious mind is totally free of having to think of the information. And when you're presented with a situation and anything like that, it just rolls from you naturally because it's been embedded in you. It's been imbued within you. The essence of it, you're a part of now. It's a part of your makeup. You know what you're talking about. You have confidence in what you're talking about. You can explain what you're talking about in detail. You understand it. You know what to do when they don't do what they're supposed to do. You know what to do. Okay, I know what course of action I'm gonna take right here. That's why sometimes you gotta be very careful going into the courtroom, because sometimes that's why they want some people locked up. They would prefer you to be locked up and not be free. When you free, you got a fighting chance. But when you locked up, you got to depend on other people on the outside to do things for you. And that's not a real good position to be in. People talk about don't come into the courtroom, I got the remedy. Them is ridiculous people. When people say that, I know they ain't got no experience. I say, nigga, you ain't got no experience. You selling shit to people and been sending shit to people. Because a person with real experience understand there are situations you're going to get caught in, you might get arrested. And when you get arrested and you get pulled into court, what are you going to do then? You can't think on your feet. You trying to tell people not to be able. You're a sovereign, man. You're supposed to know the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So you're supposed to go into courtroom and be able to demonstrate that. You calling yourself a sovereign. Anybody ever watch that movie True Grit? Go watch that movie True Grit. And watch that little 13-year-old girl when she's handling the estate, when she's probating the estate of her father. She get appointed the executrix of his estate. She knows shit that I'm like, damn, how she know that at 13? Malum in se and malum prohibitum. She know what malum in se is and malum prohibitum. Malum in se is evil of itself and malum prohibitum is prohibited conduct. She 13 years old. Most of y'all out there don't know this and everything we're talking about because her father took her to the side, and back then in the old West, everybody had to know the law. You had to know the law. You had to know you can't shoot a man in the back. But you can blast his ass for trespassing. You had a right to have a gun. Nobody had a right to take your gun from you. Nobody had a right to tell you what to do with your land. It's a free country. I'm minding my business. As long as I'm minding my business, you need to mind yours. But right now, you got a government that's trying to get all in your business. So you're going to be having more and more of those confrontations going to be getting pulled into court because they need a slave population for their prison industrial complex. So you need to be defending yourself, even if you're not in trouble. You need to understand what I'm talking about right now, because you don't understand how circumstances can change in your life where you end up in one of these courtrooms right in front of a judge, depending on the assistance of an attorney who don't have no track record of helping anybody get out of anything. Just say he do. All he got a track record of doing is giving you good plea deals. You know how bad on a felony case, how detrimental a plea deal can be on a felony case? You plead out to a felony, can't get a gun no more. You got to watch people you hang around. You got to be paranoid all the time when the police pull you over. You got to make sure you're doing everything right. Can't be doing nothing wrong. Don't have no drugs in the car. Don't have no gun in the car. Don't be around anybody who get in the car with a gun or with drugs on them. You guys go do all that shit down. Somebody want to come in your house and everything and, see how you're living. Let me visit your house. Treating you like a child. You don't want to go through all that shit. Trust me, you don't want to go through this. It's demeaning. It can be emasculating at times if you're a man. Piss in his cup. What? This your public servant telling you to piss in a cup. I appreciate the $49.99. Viola Fisher, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Big money. Big money. I appreciate that. Big baller in the house room. In the house. I appreciate that. But that's the thing, you got to understand. You got to understand that. And then you got to be prepared if you're going to jail. Like, for instance, if you're going to the jail, you don't sign nothing. If they arrest you, don't sign nothing. They're going to do everything to try to get you to sign something. Let me tell you what they'll do. They will do this. If, let's say they arrested you and you refuse to sign anything, they may call everybody down to medical, call 20 people and have you with them. And they say, yeah, you need to sign this right here. They call them 20 people to medical just to get you because you the one didn't sign any paperwork. You don't have an understanding of how much money every inmate is worth. It's millions of dollars in them pods. Slavery is a big business. And here we got one that want to agree. You're going to take me to jail. I ain't going to sign no paperwork to go to jail. That's when that judge said that everybody in prison volunteered to be there. Now, I don't know if he meant by how they sign paperwork or by agreeing to engage in some sort of activity that would lead down into the jailhouse. But he is right. Either way. It was your voluntary assent that put you in that particular position. So you also, this is what acceptance is all about as well, because you have to understand is any situation you found yourself in, you put yourself in that situation. There aren't any victims. Peace to the gods. I'm calling you gods because you're creators. You create every situation in your life, either knowingly or unknowingly, either consciously or unconsciously. But you, the basis of all law is that you're a free, self-determined individual with free will. If it wasn't so, then if you're a Christian, tell me, what is the point of having a judgment day? What's going to be your excuse? Oh, the devil made me do it. You think that's going to fly on judgment day? The devil made me do it? That ain't the devil's job to make you do anything. The devil can't prove his point by making you do things. The devil is here to prove that you ain't worthy. That's not going to work. That ain't how that works. He's here to prove you're not worthy. And to prove you're not worthy, he can use threat, duress, coercion, lies, deceit, intimidation. He can use any kind of tactic he wants. But it's you with the free will that's going to decide whether or not you're going to succumb to those attacks. What does it say? One of the best things Paul ever wrote, and I'm not a big fan of Paul, the Apostle Paul. I'm not. But he said some good things. And people be forgetting, especially when I be in my let me read this to you real quick. I think this is it right here. Ephesians. That's it right there. Let me read this to you, man. I mean, I don't understand how people be discounting the Bible, man. The Bible, I don't even call myself a Christian, but I use the Bible. Because the Bible has some, I'm a Christian in the sense it means Christ-like. But when I say I'm not a Christian, I mean I don't do what they out there doing, the stuff that they, that their interpretation of Christianity. I don't do that. And so let me see if it has this. Let's see if it's in here. First, let me read this to you. It said, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and that mayest live long on the earth. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and singleness of your heart as unto Christ, not with eye service as men pleasers, but as the servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with good will, doing service as to the Lord, not to men, knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth, the same shall he receive of the Lord, whether he be bond or free. And right here, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take on the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. And for me, and I like that. I like that. What he's saying is absolutely true, is that when you find yourself on that evil day, how did you prepare yourself for that evil day? How did you prepare yourself spiritually for that evil day? See, a lot of you, the biggest problem in the world today is people don't believe in the unseen. You don't believe in a spiritual world or a mental world. You operate totally 100% in the physical. That's kind of what the message of this new Beetlejuice movie was trying to convey to a lot of people. You know, the girl in there, she didn't believe in the unseen. But a dog can hear a whistle and you can't. That there should be evidence enough that there are states of existence beyond your 5 corporal senses, beyond your ability to perceive. Just because you can't perceive it with touch, taste, hear, sight, and smell doesn't mean it don't exist. But some of you think like that, and you handicap yourself, you hamstring yourself, you prevent yourself from getting the ultimate remedy. And the ultimate remedy to any situation is when you understand that you're in control of any situation. And that is when you begin to understand St. John 8:32, when it says, you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. How much freer can you be than that when you come to an understanding that you have power over all things? Tell me a freedom that makes you freer than that. That's freedom. You got to understand these things. When you go in there, it is a spiritual warfare that's going on too. You can't go into the courtroom completely physical. You know, one of my first interviews I had, and I can't find this interview, man. I'm looking for it. I appreciate the donation. Tama Ray Harris Bay, 50 bones, man. I appreciate that. Big baller in the house. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you. Appreciate the love. I remember one time I had this, I had my first interview on high frequency radio. You know, I had a blog talk radio channel, high frequency radio, that started all of this. And my first person I interviewed was a Hebrew Israelite. It was a brother. He had, back in, I say around 2010, a lot of Moors were getting houses. They were taking houses. They were saying, this is our land, you know, you're occupying our land, this is our house. And they were taking the houses. And he got caught into that too. I didn't say do that. I said you just use a real estate technique to take the house, you know, like get the deed. And, you know, I'll talk about that a little bit more, but not to just go and squat in the house. But anyway, he got charged with squatting in a house. And he was looking at some very serious time. And they held him in jail almost 2 years without a trial because he wasn't going to plea out. He didn't feel like he did anything wrong. And then what was guiding his consciousness and his resolve on why he believed that he was right and they were wrong is because he was basing everything out of the real estate laws in the Bible, the property laws in the Bible. So he said, let's take it to trial. And when he took it to trial, every time they asked him a question, he responded with a verse from the Bible. Now, the law, this is a Christian country. The laws in this country are based off the Bible and William Blackstone commentaries. How many people are going to go against the Bible? He won, by the way. I couldn't believe it. He took him to trial, one of the few that you will ever see happen. And so I invited him over to I wanted to interview him. And I got to find the interview. I have it recorded around here somewhere. Because it was my first one. That was like almost 10 years ago. But I always tell the story because I know there are people who actually heard the interview with him. And I just asked him questions, what he was thinking. And, you know, the spiritual grounding that he had, that's why I felt a certain kinship with him because I went through the same thing. They held me long like that. And I understood that I had to basically get a very secure spiritual foundation because the spirit is the only thing that's going to help you wrestle with the fear and doubt that you are experiencing. All right, those are intangible feelings. All right, and spirit essentially means thought because the only thing that a spirit can do is think. Like when you're possessed, when spirits possess you, what do? They take over your mind. All right, so we want to understand the activity of the spirit affects the mind, and the mind affects the emotions. Okay, so you have to guard your heart for out of the issues of life. You have to guard your heart, and you have to put a breastplate around your check, the breastplate of truth. The only thing that is truly true is something that doesn't change. The only thing that we know of as human beings that doesn't change are natural laws. Natural laws are the only evidence that a God exists, because that's when you begin to see the intelligent design of the universe. That you understand that there has to be some sort of higher intelligence behind the creation. Now, whether it's some sort of anthropomorphic representation that the Christian church tries to force upon you, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think it's a man standing in a cloud. But I do think it's some sort of universal mind force, some universal intelligence, some universal all-encompassing spirit that they reference in Star Wars. They call it the Force. They call it the Chi over in China. The Akasha. Whatever name, whatever Hindu name, Asian name, or whatever reference you want to get to it, intelligent men with high-leveling reasoning skills have deduced through observation and experiment that there is some sort of higher intelligence. That is why people who think that there's not a God, you look foolish. It's appalling the level of myopic thinking that you possess when you don't see. You can't see. You blind. And this is what's leading to the abortions. Because people think that they can do what they want to do without consequence. And if you think there's no consequence, you got to be a person that doesn't believe in God. Every time I go into the courtroom, I say a prayer to God. Every time. Because I always got to make sure that I'm humble, that I don't get full of myself. That I have to believe that, I'm doing all of this. Like, no, man, there's a universal force I'm connected with. And that universal force requires something of me. It requires me to conduct myself a certain way. It requires me to think a certain way. It requires me to demonstrate faith, which I can only do once I know something. Because if I'm having faith and I don't know something, then that's blind faith. It's like patience. You can't be patient when you don't know what you're waiting for. I gotta know what I'm about to put faith in. You can put faith in your car that it's gonna start up because you know you put some gas in it. You know you put some gas in it. Now I can have some faith that it's going to start up in the morning and take me somewhere. I put faith in God because I put faith in his laws. I studied his laws. As he said, my word will not come back to me void. What that means is that if God declares something or decrees something, there's not a force in the universe that can change its course. This is what we mean when we say that there's only one force in the universe. That God is unknowable and undefinable. That God doesn't change, because for God to change, that means that there has to be an outside force outside of God to work change against God. But since there's only one force in the universe, God is unchangeable. He's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So I can put faith in that. It doesn't matter what your religious belief is. You could be a Muslim. You have to still demonstrate Imam. You could be a Hindu. You could be a Christian. You could be this is not about your branch of religion. It has nothing to do with that. It has something to do with your character as a man or a woman. Your integrity as a man or a woman. What are the lamp posts that guide your feet? as you trek through this thing we call life? Do you have any rules? It's amazing the amount of men I see on like I was listening here in Dallas, and it was the morning show on K104, and they were having a discussion about, you know, if a woman is separated from her husband, is it okay for her to date? And I'm listening to men come on, yeah, I think it's okay. You know, if they got the intention of, you know, if they really intended on divorcing or whatever, I think that's okay. It's amazing the level how we have fallen. You know, we've fallen so far where we don't respect. And I'm not saying I've been guilty of some things in my life. I don't even want nobody to sit here and say I'm a saint or anything like that. You know, I had to grow and learn just like all of you did, and you know, and understand, you know, what constitutes what I would call agreeable conduct versus disagreeable conduct. And you know, where we don't respect the institution of marriage and things like that. Let me tell you something. The institution of marriage is the foundation for civilization. Once that starts to crumble, civilization starts to crumble. Because the family is the foundation of the nation. And when the family starts to crumble, the nation begins to crumble. This is why they can bring in all these foreigners into the country and because everybody's separated. Everybody's living in their own world. You know, I was wondering, even thinking about, you know, your children. You know, should we put our children out? Why do we put our children out and they go get their own apartment and own house and everything? Shouldn't everybody just stay in the house and conserve all the resources of the family until you get a family of your own? You know, shouldn't your daughters leave the house with a husband? That's what they do in like Hindu culture and Indian culture. You know, I don't care how old you are. You don't leave this house till you have a husband. And if you're going to have a husband, I need to meet him. I need to vet him. Because you ain't got enough sense to, you're going to work 100% off of emotion. Let me bring him to me and let me talk to him and let me do an assessment of his character and what kind of husband he'll make for you. Because your head up in the clouds. He looks a certain way. He look good. Okay, that's fine. But how is he as a man? How is he as a provider? Where do you see yourself, young man, in a year? Where do you see yourself, young man, in 5 years? Where do you see yourself, young man, in 20 years? What are your goals? How are you looking to achieve this goal? What kind of skills are you looking to acquire? What type of skills do you presently have? Why do you think you'll make my daughter a good husband? What are your spiritual beliefs? What are your thoughts on the responsibility as a husband versus the responsibility of a wife? I'm taking all this shit down. I'm taking notes. I'm like, okay, I got to see how this man think. You know, if I hand my daughter over to him. But but we got away from all of that because we don't have no rite of passage no more for our young children. How do we determine when a boy becomes a man? How do we make a determination when a young girl becomes a woman? You know, in some cultures is when she has demonstrated that she knows how to take care of a household, that when all her domestic skills are in place, she understands her role, then she's ready. He understands his role, he's ready. Now we can do a rite of passage. We understand, they both understand their commitment to God because marriage is a religious institution. I don't understand how you even getting married and you're not religious. Marriage is a religious institution. It don't have nothing to do with the secular world. You're pleading an oath to God. I think people need to be reminded of these things because I see that in the United States of America, it's getting to be a free for all in the United. You just do whatever you want. You do understand that the lema is is about do what thy wilt. Thelema, T-H-E-L-E-M-A. T-H-E-L-E-M-A. Thelema. The Thelema. Just pull it up in Google Pictures and look at it. The Thelema. Do what thy wilt. You know, Jay-Z was promoting that. The Thelema. Do what thy wilt is the whole of the law. Do what thy wilt. Do what thou wilt. Be the whole of the law. Do what thy wilt. Aleister Crowley. Which, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think Aleister Crowley, they call him the evilest man to ever live. I don't think Aleister Crowley was that evil. I read his books and some of his books. And, you know, when you get into things like this on those levels, there's really no such thing as good and evil because, as I said, once again, everything comes from God. So it's your concept of God you got to kind of understand. There is an agreeable and disagreeable, obviously, but everything, like it says in the book of Isaiah, God said, I create the light and the dark and I create evil. You know, God is telling you that nothing would exist if I hadn't created it or I hadn't allowed it to come into existence. All right? I'm the force behind everything that comes into existence. So your perception of what you call evil is really a subjective interpretation of events. These individuals, they understand how natural laws work. However, are they trying to put these laws into practice for your benefit or not is the actual question. And 9 times out of 10, it's not for your benefit, it's for their benefit to build the kind of world that they believe the world should be. All right? And that's what it basically comes down to. You either agree with that or you don't agree with it. And, you know, and if there are more people larger in number who don't agree with it, then that kind of world won't come into existence. But right now, these people are out in the open because they believe that they have the majority on their side. The Satanic Church is huge. It's huge. Huge. Huge membership. And I think some of you are unaware of that fact. You're unaware of that fact. You're unaware of that fact, man. Let's see. Let me go through here a little bit. I appreciate Darren J. the 5 Bones, sir. Peace, appreciate that. Viola Fisher, I got you. All right, let's see. Because I gave the instrument and they are now liable under 12 U.S.C. Section 95A, Part 2, and they can't take you two out, and that's what they did to me. Well, I mean, it depends, Wayne. Like when you give them a negotiable instrument, you got to make sure you follow all the rules. See, there's a UCC 3-611, what is that? Discharge by use of an instrument. You need to understand those rules. And you need to understand UCC 3-302 and the notification requirements of that and what a claim on an instrument is, UCC 3-306 and UCC 3-305, which is claims and recoupment. See, this is all under negotiable instruments, which is Article 3 of the UCC. A lot of times they take your instruments and don't give them back is because they don't have to give them back because you don't have a claim on it. It's no different than when you find a negotiable instrument on the ground. If I got a $100 bill, it doesn't matter whose signature is on it. These are the rules of negotiable instruments. Your signature on it doesn't mean anything. It can be negotiated. It can be passed from hand to hand. But there are rules about that passing from hand to hand. When you pass an instrument to somebody, you have to give them notice that you're the holder in due course of it. That's why any negotiable instrument that you tender to someone has to be accompanied by a UCC 3. So it can be added to your collateral description of your UCC 1. In other words, you're claiming that as your property, fulfilling the obligation of UCC 3-306 and UCC 3-302. So a lot of you deal in negotiable instruments and you tender instruments for set off of obligations, but you don't know the rules of negotiable instruments. You don't know the rules. And they take it and then you start saying how they corrupt, but they took it because you're ignorant. You didn't have a claim on it. What I want to know is how a divorced man think he can tell everyone else how to run marriage. You're going to listen to bankrupt motherfucker on how to invest? Well, is that how is you referencing that to me? I mean, just because you divorced don't mean right is right. I'm not telling you how to do anything. The Bible is telling you how to do it. I'm not telling you how to do anything. What's right is right. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, and if you just want to be technical about it, I never divorced my wife. I never divorced my wife. But you're right about that. But at the same time, where the rules come from marriage. That's all I'm telling you. There's rules to this. It's not me. I'm not telling you how to do anything. You can do whatever you want to do. I can tell you what the rules of nature are and what's going to be the result of your action. And let me say something else. Obviously, it got to be something because only 30% of y'all are married. Most of y'all get a divorce within the first 2 years of marriage. 85% of educated women get divorced. So obviously, something is wrong and you ain't got no answer for it. And the only common denominator that seems to be, that I can look at, seems to be all y'all done took God out of the equation. It's called deductive reasoning and observation. You didn't know that, Austin Lance, did you? You do know it says that if you got a divorce for any reason other than adultery, you still married to that person. What does it say in the Bible? Let's read this real quick. He done brought in divorce. Let's read it real quick. What does it say about divorce in the Bible? I had to bring this up and everything in the Bible. What did you, this for y'all, you Christians out there. Matthew chapter 5. It's in two places. It's Matthew chapter 5 and Matthew chapter 19. Oh man, this right here is so good. This right here is so good right here. He says, I'm gonna start at 14. Because this goes into the law, what I was talking about. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that ye may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I'm not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say to you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. Whosoever there breaks shall break one of these least commandments, shall teach men to do so, shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. So I say to you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, you shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. You have heard that it said of them of old time that thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you that whoever is angry with his brother without cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of the hell fire. Therefore, if you bring thy gift to the altar, and thou rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Agree with thy adversary quickly while thou art on the way to court with him, lest he hand you over to the adversary, deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver thee to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. Verily I say unto thee, thou shalt by no means come out thence till you have paid the othermost farthing, which means a percentage of a penny. You have heard that it was said of old time that thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you that whoever looketh on a woman to lust after her have commanded adultery with her already in his heart. And if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out and cast it from thee, for it is profitable for thee that one of thy members should perish, and not thy whole body shall be cast into hell. And if thy right hand offend thee, cut it off and cast it off from thee. For it is profitable for thee that one of thy members shall perish, and not thy whole body should be cast into hell. It has been said, whoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causeth her to commit adultery, and whoever shall marry her, that is divorce, committed adultery. Now, this is a question to you in there. That's not me telling you to do anything. That's coming from there right there. If you call yourself a Christian, which is a follower of Christ. If I don't do something the right way, doesn't mean I can't tell you what is the right way. Y'all tripped me out when y'all was doing that with Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels, he'd been divorced, I think 2 times or something like that. And he was basically trying to tell, his whole platform was dedicated to telling women what high value men want, because that's what he consulted with on a daily basis, what high value men wanted. High value men don't want X, Y, and Z. They want this. They want this type of woman, that type of woman. And everybody, well, how can you tell them that, Kevin? And you don't have a family. You're not divorced. I'm like, what is he talking about? He's just telling you what's in everybody's mind. Every man listening to that knows he's telling the truth. Every man listening knows he's telling. I'm like, yeah, that's how we all think. That's how we think. That's all. He wasn't telling men how to think. He was telling y'all how we think. Y'all was taking it as he programming us. He wasn't programming anybody. He was telling you this is how men think. When they get to this level of success, they think this way. This is what type of woman they want. No, we don't care about your job, how much money you make, or if you're a boss bitch or nothing like that. We don't care about that. That's what you care about that with us. Do not put the same standards and qualifications on us that we put on you. Because what we look for in you, you can't look for that same, ain't what, you know what I'm saying? What you're looking for in us, we ain't looking for in you. But they couldn't get it. It was hard for them to understand, and they hated him for it. And then they tried to discount the message by attacking the messenger. But just because the messenger is not perfect doesn't make the message any less true. Because the thing about it is truth resonates. Truth is like honey, bees coming to honey. If you got the truth, people are going to come to you. If you have the truth, then people are going to listen to you. If you don't have the truth, then you can't get mad and come into other people's forums and everything because nobody's listening to you. You obviously don't have the truth. You obviously don't resonate with people because the truth resonates. Truth is truth. And one of the things when we were going through our initiation, I think this is in the, I don't know if it's in the Quran Circle 7 or the Aquarian Gospels, one of those documents, but it was the 7 tests of Jesus. And one of his tests was with a beautiful woman, but his last test was he received wisdom from a 5-year-old child. And it was to teach him that you can get wisdom from all type of places. Like when you entertain homeless people, what does it tell you about homeless people? You entertain angels unawares. Bible. Hebrews 13:2. Do not neglect. Where the King James? Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers. For by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Sometimes some homeless people come up, think about it, like the homeless people, they would come up to me. It'd be a crowd of damn people. And I see a homeless person way across over there is a crowd of people, and all through the crowd, his eyes are locked with mine. He'll walk all through the crowd of people and say, hey, brother, can I get some money? And I know, and sometimes instinctively, and say, okay, this is some kind of test. Because you have to think about it. He's like, okay, well, can the creator of the balanced universe utilize you as a blessing for other people? That's what he's looking for, because God bless people through other people. But you got to get tested on that, because it's like, okay, well, I've done all these blessings for you, but let me see when it's your time, if I need you to use you to bless somebody else, and all of a sudden you start talking about, well, I can't do that or anything. That they got a story about that in the Bible. about the wicked servant who owed the king money. And the king had him arrested. And he brought him before the king, and the king begged the king. He said, please, please let me go, and I promise you, I promise you, just begged the king, and the king showed him mercy. And then he went right out into the street and grabbed somebody who owes him some money and then threw him in jail. And then offer him the same mercy that the king offered him. So if the king is giving me mercy, I got to give the same kind of mercy to someone else. So when somebody asks me for some money, it's not for me to try to determine what they're going to do with the money. I don't know that. I might give them that money and change their life right then at that instance. You don't know. But that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is just to give, to be the vessel in the avenue where people can receive something. What they do with it is not for me to say. It's the same thing with the truth. It's not for me to say. And a lot of you, and that's why I'm dwelling on this so long, because a lot of people do that. They try to discredit the message by attacking the character of the person who's giving the message, as if in some kind of way that takes away from the truth of the message. That's some of the most retarded thinking I've ever seen. That's fucking retarded. What, the message is no good because you don't like the person giving it? That's also, they doing this too. The message is no good because I don't like the way you said it. What the fuck? Truth is truth. A wise person is going to take it no matter how it gets said. I'm going to take this wisdom. "90% will only be mama's little helper. Women will be influenced by the warrior kings, not the follower. Not the follower. She is temporary with until divorce him or her, follow him or." I mean, I understand there's some truth in that statement, but it's kind of some evilness in that statement too. See if you can kind of rewrite it. But it is true. And it's modern, especially in this modern world. Especially in this modern world, it's true. It says, yes, same with, I think now I look at homeless people totally different than most. I look at homeless people as spiritual bank accounts. I usually have like cash on me solely for the purpose to give to people that ask me for money. Just solely for that purpose in my wallet. That's all I have cash on me for. It's when people ask me for money, I give it to them. And you'll be amazed at how your bank account will start to increase. There is a book called the Law of Tenfold Return, where it talks about how things come back to you tenfold through your giving. That's why all the wealthy people give. Everybody's giving. It don't make them poor. It makes them richer when they give. So, there is a science in giving. I had a homeless person come up to me, and I had $80 in my wallet, and she asked me for some money for lunch, and I only gave her $5. I feel like I should have given her more. Well, whatever, you got to think, $5 was, you gave something. You don't need to beat yourself up about it. You gave something. You gave what you felt like you could give. You don't have to feel guilty about that. Plus you got to understand, you don't know what that $5 will do. You don't understand what $5 will do. $5 might be enough to change somebody's life. You don't know. He might be able to buy a ticket to get on the train and get somewhere that ultimately change. And he go back and say, you know what, man, that dude that gave me that $5, I would have been able to get on the train and ride on the other side of town and make it to this meeting that changed my life. It's cause and effect. For every cause, there's an effect. For every effect, there's a cause. Everything is a chain. It's connected through like a chain. So don't beat yourself up. You don't know what role you play in the situation. That's called the law of allowance. Yes, it wasn't. It's the June 5th Act of 1933. You're looking for, I don't know what he's talking about. Yusuf going to have me driving around looking for homeless people. No, I don't go around looking for them. Just know that, it's just that I keep cash on them. I was homeless at one time for a short time, about 2 weeks. There was about 2 weeks of my life that I got kicked out of an apartment and I didn't have nowhere to go. So I was sleeping in the clubhouse of this apartment and getting up in the morning and taking showers at, I don't think it was LA Fitness or some type of other sports club or something like that. Might have been LA Fitness or something, and taking my showers over there and getting dressed. You know, and it was only about 2 weeks, but I refused to go home or anything like that. You know, I was just the kind of person, I ain't built like that. I'll make it happen. I made it happen. I got out there and figured it out and made it happen. But the thing is that, you know, you just now remember that situation. I remember when I slept on my homeboy's couch for 6 months. I remember sleeping on that couch, man. I'll never forget that couch. I slept on that couch for 6 months. He let me sleep on the couch. That was my bed for 6 months. You know, I got dressed from the living room and went into the bathroom and got out and went to work and from a couch until I got to a point I got my own place and then got my own car and then things started rolling for me. But everybody has a situation in their life, you know, and you know, if you can, I remember that, and I remember, hey, you know, I know I would never want to be in that, and I remember the people that helped me too. And I know I said, man, I don't know, I'll never want to be in that situation again where nobody will help me or anything like that. I'm like, I appreciate all the help that I got. So hell, let me just pay that back, you know, pay it forward a little bit because somebody helped me, you know, when in my time of need. I ain't gonna forget that. And I'm putting that in that spiritual bank account just in case there is a time of need for me again in the future. You know, I want have my spiritual bank account overflowing with, you know what, this guy right here, he got a lot of credit, you know, for helping people. So he needs some help right now. Let's send him some help. I remember when I was living in the hotel room, man, and trying to work on my website and got it together. And I made $25,000 in 3 days. Man, let me tell you, when that happened, I believe there was a God. I said, man, it gotta be a God, man. Cause I was at my wit's end. I was like hanging on a rope, about to, you know, fall into the abyss. And not only did I come out of it, I came out of it on top, like flourishing. You know, like, man, I'm talking shit. And I was like, you know, I'm trying to get me an apartment. Got a house. Got me a house to live in. You know, just things changed dramatically in an instant. And there is a verse in the Bible on that. It says, do not chase money. What does it say? It says, do not chase money. What does the Bible say about that? It's the Lord who gives the power to make wealth. It was like, let's see, do not, I think it's in the Sirach though. It says, do not chase after wealth because God can make you rich in an instant. And that, you know, and that right there resonated with me because it's true. I mean, you don't know what circumstance tomorrow is going to bring. It's going to bring, you know, I'm looking for the verse right now, but I'll find it. But it's like, you know, you don't know the day that your circumstance is going to change. You know, tomorrow might be that day that changed the rest of your life. But you got to have faith in it and an air of expectation that it's going to come. You know, I may not be married right now, but I have my life experience has taught me a lot. I've done business. I've been on the criminal side of things. I've been on the business side of things. You know, I've been married, divorced. I have children. You know, I did a lot of things. I got a lot of experience with a lot of different things. And all I can do is offer you my experience in something. You can take it or leave it. That's all you can do. And creditors and bonds, when you send a letter of credit to the Secretary of the Treasury for a court case, but you do not know the cost of the charge, and creditors and their bonds, when you send a letter of credit, that's why it's called acceptance for value. You give them the case number, you tell them to do the accounting on it. You got acceptance for assessed value, and you got acceptance for value. You don't know what the value of it is. So it's acceptance for value. You give them the case number and give them instructions on what to do. And creditors and their bonds, when you send a letter of credit to this, you keep asking me this. I hate it when people do that, keep asking me the same question. And creditor, I mean, it's a simple question to answer. If you read the document, if you truly read the document, you would know that. I don't understand why you're asking me the question, because you're saying in creditors and their bonds, and they tell you this in the document. If you read it, why are you asking me? Because the only thing I can gain from that is you asking me the question to see if I read it. You know, I can't understand that. It says, to be an accredited investor, you need to reach a certain worth. Yeah, to be an accredited investor, I think you need to have I think it's like $300,000 single and $450,000 joint with somebody else, net worth that you're making or something. I don't know if those numbers are exactly right, but I know I'm in the ballpark of it to be an accredited investor. It says, can you put it on in chat? They said, let's see. Hotel room has a bathroom at least. Yeah, it did. The hotel room did have a bathroom. But, you know, I went through all of that, man. You know, people look at you and they think that your life was easy. Man, I went through a whole bunch of stuff to get this information that I'm giving to all of you. You know, I don't consider myself rich or anything like that either. You know, I just consider myself to be well off. You know, I don't think I'm wealthy or anything, but I think I've been blessed to be. I look at myself as being blessed that any of my daily needs are always taken care of. That I don't have to overly concern myself with my daily needs. My daily needs are taken care of. I live a moderate life. You know, I don't try to live a overly extravagant life. You know, you know, it's just, you know, I'm thankful, and I try to wake up every day and be thankful for everything. And that's why I come on these lives and everything, because I'm thankful for all of you, as well as the fact that, you know, I don't want to let anybody down, because, you know, when I start not doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm letting y'all down. You know, I'm supposed to be on here giving information, doing webinars, doing all these type of things, you know, and that's how I pay you back. You know, I got to give you more information and give, you know, just come up with ideas and to do, like I'm building a new website right now. It's just things that I have to do to thank you, to pay you back. Chase money and she will flee. You have to deserve, and that comes from knowing the truth. Yeah. Thank you, sir, for your wealth of knowledge and experience. I appreciate you too. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you. But that was it. I didn't want to come on here and stay a very long time today. I was just coming on to just kind of give a message. And I appreciate the $10, Tina Scott. I appreciate that. And give a message, because I do talk to people. And, you know, if you're not ready to go to court, you know, you got to practice makes perfect. You know, I give you certain documents like Court Survival Guide. If you really read that document, it's a plethora of information in there as far as what you can say in court. You know, and preparing you for certain things that will come up in court. You know, you got to be prepared for that. You know, study your words and you will be listened to, as it says in the Sirach. And, you know, just prepare yourself and understand that you need to be spiritually grounded, you know, because there are emotions that you're going to have to contend with, the biggest being fear. And the only thing that can contend with fear is spiritual grounding. You got to think that there's some force that is there to assist you. You either believe it or you don't believe it. You think that there's you're never alone. I'm here to tell you you're never alone, but you got to think that there is something there that will assist you. Something there that whenever you call on it will never let you down. Try it. Peace to the gods and goddesses. I will see y'all on the next live, man. Like, comment, and subscribe. You've been listening to the hottest radio network on the planet. I'm Yusuf Vale. Peace. I'm out.